Okay, looks like we've assembled and can kick off. The first thing that I'd like to do is to hand the floor to Chairman Forsman of the Suquamish tribe here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, we've been incredibly honored across the different SOM meetings, recognizing the importance of indigenous communities across not just the United States, but so many APEC economies. And I think here again in Seattle, we're very fortunate to have Chairman Forsman and a group from the Suquamish tribe help us welcome and open today's events. Chairman.
Hakshlahil. I'm Leonard Forsman. My ancestral name is Gwowi, which means raven in the Celtic language. We have a sister tribe in Bella Bella, British Columbia, that helped us start the canoe journey. And when we hosted that journey in 2009, 20 years after the first journey to paddle to Seattle, I was gifted that name. So it has an international flavor to it. So I'd just like to welcome you all to Seattle. And we're at the Suquamish tribe, the home of Chief Seattle, for who the city was named. And we are a marine people. We traveled primarily in canoes before contact. And we're a tribe of about 1,200 people now, and we have a large usual and accustomed fishing area that's important to us, but we also have a number of other cultural activities and traditions that we continue to carry on as well. Chief Seattle was born in 1786 on Blake Island, and when he was a young boy, he and his father went out to greet Captain George Vancouver, who was a British sea explorer, and that was the beginning of contact for us. And he lived to be a chief of the tribe, and then later was a diplomat, much like many of you are, to the Hudson's Bay Company and also the American settlers. And when Seattle was settled in the 1850s, he was there to help cooperate with the incoming pioneers in establishing the city, and then signed our treaty, the Treaty of Point Elliott, in 1855 on our behalf. And that treaty is rooted in the U.S. Constitution as the supreme law of the land, and we work very hard with the United States government to maintain our end of the deal and get them to maintain their end of the deal. And that's a constant activity for our people. And the Biden administration is taking it very seriously. And we really are happy to have had the invite to be able to say, welcome to Seattle, which is our Aboriginal home. We are active in economic development in our own right. We do a lot of gaming and hospitality, but we also ship shellfish to overseas markets as well, especially to China. And we really appreciate the business that we do with China and shipping our geoduck clams, which is a very important part of our economy. So with that, I was going to go ahead and introduce our cultural director, who's going to explain a little bit about the regalia that our people are wearing. And then we'll do a couple of songs and conclude. So, Ahoyth Chud, which in our language means I'm finished.
Hash Slahil, Twagalapu, Gwalapu Tidi Shud, Kaikablu Seedsta, Sokwabs Chud. Good day to all you good people. You are my relatives. My name is Kaikablu, or Kate Avakana. Kaikablu is my ancestral name from my family. And I am a Suquamish tribal member. As Leonard said, I work for the Suquamish tribe, and I'm a cultural director. I was asked today to kind of explain some of the traditional regalia that you see today. You'll see that we have some rattles, we have hand drums, We also are wearing cedar. Cedar is one of our most important materials. It comes from the Northwest red cedar tree, and it's the inner bark. We use it for many different things like hats. We use it for our canoes, our rattles, our paddles. The cedar tree gives us many different materials within it that we use for regalia, clothing, and things like that. We also have wool skirts that you'll see, different weavings. And all of this is kind of a representation of what our ancestors wore, and we continue on these traditional teachings and gifts that we receive as people, and we hope that you enjoy today. Thank you. Oshoyof Chud.
Hatzlachel twa Gwalapu de Ishad, Joseph Holmes teed stat, Atzich Talbuf chud, as Joe Ilaf chus al tis lachel. Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Holmes and I'm a member of the Suquamish Song and Dance Group. We're going to be singing 2 songs for you here today. Our first song that we're going to sing is our gathering song, and this is the ancestral lands of the Suquamish people. Our chief, like Leonard said, his name was Si'at, and that's how you said Chief Seattle's name traditionally. And so out of honor to him of helping the first non-native settlers here, they named the city here after him. And so this first song we're going to sing is our gathering song, followed by our second song, which is a floor blessing song. We want to make sure that all of our all of our people here have good blessings as you continue your work here in our Soqabj territory, as well as when you go back home to your home nations, and just wish you all well while you're here with us as our guests. Oseab.
Hey,
Ohema Hiskoi for your attention here tonight. And on behalf of the Suquamish Tribe, I'd like to say thank you once again. I'm also president of the Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians. I'm not necessarily here in that capacity, but I guess I can say welcome on behalf of the whole Pacific Northwest, all the Salmon people. And then also the First American Indian Region at the University of Washington. So I guess I can say welcome on behalf of the University of Washington as well, and say go dogs. And once again, I'll say it one more time, Ahoth Chud, thank you.
Chair Forsman, thank you. Thank you to the entire Suquamish Tribe for both convening and blessing us here today. Thank you. We will take those words of wisdom to heart as we do the work and the proceedings of this group over the next day and a half. So to turn to that, it's great to be here with everyone. It's an honor for me to welcome each of you to the City of Seattle and to chair this third senior officials meeting of the United States host year. I know all of you have traveled great distances to be here. I thank all of you for your commitment to APEC and for bringing a spirit of partnership and cooperation with you to Seattle as we really begin the work in this final stretch to bringing our leaders together in November of this year. One of the exciting things, of course, about hosting APEC from where I sit is the chance that we get on the United States team to showcase the depth and breadth of our country's diversity, our geographic, demographic, cultural, culinary, and economic diversity. And I'm excited that all of you have had a chance to see so much of that over the period of the U.S. host year. From Honolulu last December to Palm Springs in February to Detroit in May, now Seattle, and looking ahead to our final stop in San Francisco for Leaders Week. As you heard last night from Mayor Harrell, the City of Seattle has forged incredible bonds with the APEC region over the last 3 decades. The city's economic ties are strong and dynamic. Seattle's trade with APEC members accounts for more than 3/4 of its annual total. Imports and exports between Washington State and APEC economies total nearly $110 billion each year. And of course, just earlier today, when the senior officials had their retreat a little bit further downtown on the 40th floor, looking out over Seattle and the water, you could see the Port of Seattle, you could see the container ships, you could see that trade between Seattle and this entire region happening in real time. But beyond economics, the ties go even deeper here in Seattle. Nearly 10% of the city's population has direct family ties with APEC member economies, underscoring the connections across the APEC family. Seattle also has a special place in the history of APEC. As I'm certain you've heard, not far from here, just across Puget Sound is Blake Island, the site of the inaugural APEC Economic Leaders Forum in 1993, 30 years ago. It was there that leaders of the 14 economies first gathered to discuss opportunities to advance regional economic cooperation. Now, much has changed since then, including the addition of 7 more economies to the APEC family. But President Bill Clinton said something at that time that still rings true now. With today's meeting, he said, we're helping the Asia Pacific to become a genuine community. He said, a community of shared interests, shared goals, and shared commitment to mutually beneficial cooperation. I hope all of you have felt that way with each step of the United States host year here in 2023. The relationships forged during our time together in Honolulu, Palm Springs, Detroit, and now Seattle drive and shape our work to lead our economies toward the open, dynamic, resilient, and peaceful Asia-Pacific our leaders envisioned 30 years ago. I want to take a moment to reflect on the progress that we've already made this year. In Palm Springs, we introduced the U.S. APEC 2023 theme of creating a resilient and sustainable future for all through our three overarching priorities: interconnected, innovative, and inclusive. We discussed advancement of sustainable inclusive growth as part of the Manoa agenda. In Detroit, we continued those conversations following the transportation ministerial meeting and the ministers responsible for trade meeting, and we shared our Digital Pacific Agenda discussion paper outlining U.S. efforts to expand digital access for APEC member economies and implement APEC's commitments under the APEC Internet and Digital Economy Roadmap. Here in Seattle, one of the United States' most vibrant tech hubs, we are hosting APEC Digital Month, bringing together public and private sector leaders to focus on digital access, on innovation, inclusivity, technology, and entrepreneurship. And we are hosting 6 ministerial meetings here, including the first energy ministerial meeting in 8 years. And ahead of Leaders Week in San Francisco, the United States has introduced the Bay Area Agenda on Resilience and Inclusive Growth, calling on APEC economies to work together to ensure that our joint progress toward long-term, innovative, inclusive, and resilient economic growth. And I just want to add here that the retreat this morning was an incredibly important and vibrant dialogue where we took on board thoughtful comments and feedback from each of the economies. This is really the spirit that the United States has worked to bring to our host year of facilitating impactful conversations across each of the economies as we work to achieve common goals together. We developed these initiatives, indeed, after hearing from you about your priorities and your goals for APEC. We have intentionally focused our host year on continuing and implementing the meaningful work started by Malaysia, New Zealand, Thailand, and many others during your years and shaped by current world events. This is all intentional. The United States strongly believes in APEC's capacity to bring us together to help innovate policies that will create more opportunities for more people in the Asia-Pacific institution. And we are committed to using our host years as stewards to invest in APEC's capacity to bring us together, to help innovate policies that will create more inclusivity, more resilience, more innovation, to ensure that this institution is every bit as strong a few decades from now, when perhaps we'll be back in Seattle, remarking on the progress we've made since today. That's the vision and commitment we'll bring to the work before us. We'll strive to advance our discussions over the coming days on sustainability, the digital economy, and resilience and inclusion, just as we did this morning. What we do here, what we've done for the last 2 Psalms, will help determine how we prepare our leaders for Leaders Week. We will work to amplify our partnership and the concrete steps we've taken this year in advancing our shared agenda and addressing the interconnected challenges confronting our economies. Later today, we'll hear presentations reporting on the work of committees over the past 3 weeks, including results from the Senior Disaster Management Officials Forum, the Food Security Ministers meeting, the high-level meeting on health and the economy, energy ministers, Women in the Economy Forum, Small and Medium Enterprises Ministerial Meeting, and the Joint Ministerial Meeting on Women in the Economy and Small and Medium Enterprises. As I go down that list, it rings home to me how urgent, how vital, how immediate the work of APEC is today. Obviously, we've seen the news out of Hawaii, our first host location for our host year, and the work, obviously, of the disaster management officials and the ongoing importance and essentialness of that work, I think, was brought home. Food security continues to be an issue confronting so many economies globally as a result of the disruption from war. high-level meeting on health and economy underscores the ongoing need for us all to be focused on better health outcomes, better public health outcomes, and ensuring resilience against public health threats. And no issue is perhaps more at the front of everyone's mind than climate and the energy transition, which was squarely in discussion at energy ministers. Lastly, resilience is not going to be achieved without small and medium enterprises leading the way. And small and medium enterprises are not going to be able to lead the way if women-led enterprises are not at the heart of that story. That's been, I think, a consistent theme of APEC for a number of years now, dating back at least to the United States' last host year in 2011, and it's something we've wanted to squarely focus on here, most importantly, like I said, in the role that women-led small and medium enterprises play in the overall ecosystem of small business, and the role that that has to play in ensuring that the entire region is resilient. Later tonight, we will have an opportunity to come together for a senior officials-only social gathering. I'll look forward to that. I think it will allow us all to recall that work 30 years ago on Blake Island. And tomorrow we'll have an opportunity to discuss plans for the finance ministers meeting and for Leaders Week, including the concluding senior officials meeting and the APEC ministerial meeting in San Francisco. Let me again express my appreciation to all of you and to your teams for helping to ensure that we have a productive couple of days together here in Seattle. The work here is really going to be a springboard for the next 2.5 months, when I think it's really going to be a sprint to the finish line to ensure that we're putting our leaders in a place to deliver an impactful Leaders Week in November. At this time, I would ask that members of the press depart. Thank you for being here for this opening part of the plenary session, but we'll look forward to beginning the work in closed session